Radhe Radhe and welcome to Gaura Sangha. Savitri saves her husband. Something very tragic happens to Savitri's husband. However, by her steadfast perseverance, she completely reverses the situation. Likewise, in our pursuit of wisdom and virtue, although we may encounter many obstacles or difficulties, we must manifest similar perseverance to succeed. Ashvapati, the king of Madras, was very pious and religious. He always served the Brahmins, was highly spiritual, and was firm in fulfilling his pledges. He restrained his sense, performed sacrifices, and worked for the welfare of all beings. The best of donors, he was competent and adored by both the residents of the city and the country. However, this forgiving and truthful king, though married, had no child. And as he grew older, this distressed him. Therefore, in order to have children, the king decided to practice austerities and thereby atone for whatever sins he had committed in the past that result in the present childlessness. With a firm vow, he ate sparingly, observed celibacy, and curbed his senses. Moreover, he daily offered 10,000 oblations into the sacrificial fire, chanted mantras honoring Goddess Savitri, and ate moderately at the 6th hour. After the king observed this vow for 18 years during one of the sacrifices, Goddess Savitri finally arose from the fire and said, "Ashvapati, I have been pleased with your celibacy, purity, self-control, observance of vows, and all your effort and reverence. Therefore, without violating the code of righteousness, how would you like me to bless you? Goddess, please bless me with many sons who may be worthy of my family line, for the Brahmins had advised me that there is tremendous merit in having children. Since I had already known your desire, I spoke to Lord Brahma about it. By his favor, you will soon have a daughter of great power." A daughter, thought the king, somewhat disappointed. "Though I know you want a son, Lord Brahma asked me to tell you not to answer me now. You will understand later." All right, Goddess Savitri disappeared and the king entered his city. Soon after, his eldest and virtuous queen, the princess of Malava, became pregnant and gave birth to a daughter. In honor to Goddess Savitri, the baby was named after her. When the child grew up and reached puberty, she had a golden complexion, gorgeous face, slender waist, and ample hips. She looked like the goddess of fortune, and when people saw her, they thought, "Indeed, we have received a goddess." People saw her, they thought, "Indeed, we have received a goddess." Her spiritual splendor, force, and beauty were so overwhelming that possible suitors, feeling unequal to and inadequate for her, refused to ask her to marry them. One day, when the moon changed in its face, Savitri observed the usual sacrifice. She ate no food, bathed her head, went before the family deity and had Brahmins perform a ceremony and offer oblations into the fire. Taking the flowers that had been offered to the Lord, she proceeded to her father, who happened to be with his counselors. There she bowed to his feet, presented him with the flowers, and, with joined palms, stood beside him. As the king looked at her, he saw she was of a marriageable age, but since no man had sought her hand, this made him unhappy. "My daughter," he said, "it's now time for you to get married, but no man has asked to marry you. Therefore, it will be best for you yourself to look for a husband. His qualities, of course, should be equal to yours. Choose a man you feel strongly attracted toward. When you find him, let me know. If, after thorough consideration, I think he is suitable, I will surely give you to him." The Brahmins say that the father who does not get his daughter married will be disgraced. But remember, when you look for a husband, act in such a way that the gods will not disapprove. After the king instructed his attendants to accompany Savitri, she offered him her respect and compliantly left the palace. Along with the king's elderly counselors, she mounted a vehicle and had the driver take her to a lovely sanctuary where royal sages lived. There she worshipped the elders' feet and wandered about the forest distributing gifts to the Brahmins. Sometimes later, Savitri returned to the palace. She went to her father's court and saw he was conversing with the great sage Narada. When she approached them respectfully, Narada asked the king, "Where did your daughter go? And where is she coming from? She is now marriageable, so why don't you obtain a husband for her?" "That was the reason I sent her away, to find a spouse." The king turned to Savitri. "Now tell me about the man you have chosen." Savitri replied, "There was a righteous king among the Shalva people named Dyumatsena, but after some time he went blind. Then one of his former enemies, taking advantage of the king's weakness, took away his kingdom. After that, the king, along with his wife and only child, left to live in the forest, take vows, and practice asceticism. His son is now a young man and worthy of becoming my husband. I have been taking him into my heart as my lord." Narada turned to the king. "That's too bad, Savitri. Has made a wrong choice." "Wrong?" "Yes, the youth she is referring is called Satyavan, and he does have exceptional qualities. Both his father and mother are truthful. That's why the Brahmins name him Satyavan. And he is energetic, intelligent, forgiving, and courageous. His energy is like the sun. His wisdom is like Brihaspati. His courage like that of the king of gods, and his forgiveness like the earth's. But is he generous in gift giving and devotee to the Brahmins? And is he handsome, unselfish, and stunning to look at? In gift giving he is like the king Rantideva, who fed innumerable beggars. In truthfulness and devotion to the Brahmins, he resembles the king Shivi, who offered his body as a sacrifice to protect a pigeon from a hawk. In unselfishness, he is like King Jayati, in handsomeness like the moon, and in physique like the stunning ash wings. He retrains his senses and is humble. Courageous and truthful, with controlled passion, he is dedicated to his friends, devoid of hatred, unassuming and forbearing. Indeed, great sages say that his behavior is always proper and his honor firmly established. Those are his good qualities, but what about his flaws? Does he have any? He has only one flaw, and it overpowers all his virtues. Ashvapati wondered what it was. It's this. In 1 year from today, Satyavan will die. The king turned to Savitri. Well, my daughter, you hear what the sage said. It will be the best for you to choose a different man. But Savitri replied, death can come only once. A daughter can be given away only once, and a person can say only once, I give this away. Only once can any of those events occur. Similarly, wherever Satyavan's life is short or long, virtuous or evil, I will only choose my husband once, and I have done so. Narada said, King, your daughter's mind is firm. It's not possible to dissuade her from this virtuous course, and no one else has Satyavan's virtues. I approve of this marriage. I will do as you say, the king replied, for you are my teacher. May Savitri's marriage be peaceful, and may you all be blessed. May Savitri's marriage will be peaceful, and may you all be blessed. Farewell. Said Narada, and he departed from the heavenly planets. The king proceeded to arrange for the wedding. He summoned all the aged Brahmins with their assistants. Then, on a favorable day, he, Savitri, and the priest started out for Dyumatsena's hermitage. When they arrived there, they approached the wise but blind royal sage, who was sitting on a kusha grass mat under a sal tree. After properly offering his respects, King Ashvapati identified himself. Dyumatsena, in turn, presented the king with arghya, water, milk, kusha grass, rice, durva grass, sandalwood, and flowers, as well as a seat and a cow. What's the purpose of your visit? He asked. Dyumatsena, this is my lovely daughter, Savitri. I like you to accept her from me as your daughter-in-law. But we have been disposed of our kingdom. That's why we are living here. Our lives consist of practicing asceticism to acquire virtue. How will your noble daughter bear the burden of doing the same? My daughter and I know that happiness and distress come and go. Therefore, your words are inappropriate. I have come here with my mind made up, and out of friendship I have offered my obeisances to you. So I entreat you not to destroy my hope. We are equal in rank, kings, and are fit for an alliance. Therefore, please accept my daughter as your daughter-in-law and as the wife of your son. Dyumatsena recollected, in the past I desired to have an alliance with you, but I hesitated. Then my kingdom was taken away from me. Thus, let my former desire be fulfilled now. Indeed, you are a welcome visitor. The king called all the Brahmins living in the surrounding retreats and, with proper rituals, had the marriage performed. Ashvapati gave Savitri away with suitable robes and ornaments, and then departed happily from his palace. Satyavan and Savitri were also very happy, for he had obtained a wife who possessed every attainment, and she had acquired a husband whom she truly loved. When Savitri's father left, she discarded all her ornaments and dresses as a hermit, in tree bark and red-colored cloth, by her service and good qualities, her gentleness and austerity, and by her congenital attendance on all, Savitri satisfied everyone. She pleased her mother-in-law by visiting on her person and by clothing her with robes and adornment. She pleased her father-in-law by honoring him as though he were a god and by retraining her speech. And she satisfied her husband by her sweet words, her skill in all kinds of chores, her balance of emotion, and her affectionate expression in private. Nonetheless, as a time elapsed, Saint Narada's prophecy echoed through her mind day and night and made her lament. When only 4 days remained before Satyavan was to die, Savitri began a 3 days fast. Her father-in-law, hearing about this, became sad and said, "My daughter, you are observing a difficult vow. Perhaps you should not." "Don't be sad, father. I am determined to fulfill it. And I will." "All right, if you insist." And he stopped trying to discourage her. Looking out, Savitri spent the eve of Satyavan's predicted death in dire agony. At the sunrise, she brewed, "Today is the day." Then she completed her morning rituals and made sacrificial offerings to the fire. Having genuflected to the Brahmins, her father-in-law and her mother-in-law, Savitri stood before them with joined palms and controlled senses. The Brahmins blessed her to never become a widow, and Savitri welcomed this with the thought, "May this come true." And Savitri welcomed this with the thought, "May this come true." Nevertheless, she could not help expecting Saint Narada's prophecy to soon materialize. Since she had completed her fasting vow, her parents-in-law urged her to eat. "I have resolved to eat when the sun set today." At that moment, Satyavan placed his axe on his shoulder and proceeded toward the wood. Noticing this, Savitri followed him and said, I'd like to go with you today." "Go with me?" He was surprised. "Yes, because I cannot tolerate your absence. But you never go to the woods with me. The paths are hard to cross, and you are very weak." "But I don't feel weak, and I definitely would like to go, so please let me." "Well, all right, but first ask my parents' permission. I don't want to be responsible for any difficulties you might encounter." Savitri went to them and asked them, she added, "I can't stand to be away from him. Please let me go. It's almost a year since I last left the ashram, and I so much want to see the blossoming forest." Her father-in-law replied, "I don't recall you ever saying anything with a hidden motive." Her father-in-law replied, "I don't recall you ever saying anything with hidden motive. So yes, you might go, but please don't divert Satyavan from his work there." Savitri left the hermitage with her husband. Outwardly, she was smiling, but inwardly she was agonizing. As they proceeded, they took in the beauty of the forest, its rivers, trees, flowers, and birds. Continually glancing at Satyavan, Savitri considered him as already dead. It was only a matter of moments now. Satyavan filled up his sack with fruits. Then, as he began to chop branches, he started perspiring. Soon his head began to hurt, feeling very weary. He said, "Savitri, Due to this heavy work, my head, limbs, and heart are itching. I can scarcely stand up. I think I will go to sleep for a while. He then sat down on the ground. Savitri sat beside him and placed his head on her lap. As she felt the moment of death coming, she saw a strange-looking being coming toward her. He was dressed in red and wearing a crown. His dark-complected body was large and radiant, his eyes fiery red, holding a noose in his hand and gazing at Satyavan. He looked dreadful. Satyavan's wife placed his head on the ground gently. Then she stood up, her heart trembling. "You look superhuman," she said painfully, "so I assume you are a god. Who are you, and why have you come here?" The visitor replied, "You are always devoted to your husband, and you have acquired the merit of performing austerity. That's why I am talking to you." Savitri started to him, "I am Yama, the Lord of Death. Your husband's days on earth are over. I have come to take his soul away. But usually only your servants come. Why have you personally come?" "Because this prince has excellent qualities, achievements, and bodily beauty. He is above being carried away by my servants." Lord Yama tied his nose around Satyavan's soul. Then he yanked the soul out of the body so that it was completely under his control. Satyavan's body, now lacking breath, luster, and motion, looked repulsive. As Yama drove the soul southwards, Savitri followed him. Seeing this, he turned to her and said, "Stop! Go home and perform your husband's funeral ceremony. You have no more obligations to him. Don't follow me any further." "I will follow my husband wherever you are carrying him and wherever he goes. This is the eternal tradition. As a result of my austerities, my respect for my superiors, my love for my husband, my fulfilling of vows, and also your kindness, nothing is stopping me." She continued, "The wise say that he who takes 7 steps with another person makes a friendship with him. Now that we are friends, please hear what I have to say. Even if a person passed through the 4 spiritual orders of life, student, householder, retired, and renunciant, but he has no control over his soul, he acquires no merit. What is known as spiritual merit is made up of true knowledge. The wise says that acquiring spiritual merit rather than merely passing through these 4 orders is the best of all things. If one practices the duties of even one of those orders according to the instructions of the wise, he achieves spiritual merit. Therefore, it is not necessary for one to desire to enter the 1st or the 4th order. Savitri, I am pleased by your knowledge and distinctive speech founded on reason. Therefore, ask me for any blessing except for your husband's life. All right, my father-in-law leads a life of seclusion in our ashram because he lost his eyesight and kingdom. By your grace, may he regain his vision and become powerful. Granted. You look tired from walking. Don't tire yourself any longer. Just stop following me and return home. Respectfully, she contradicted him. How can I feel weary in my husband's company? His fate is surely mine also. Wherever you carry him, I will also go. Lord Yama, even one conversation with saintly person is very desirable. Friendship with them is even more so. And a relationship with them is always productive. Therefore, one should always live with saintly souls. Your words are very rich, Savitri. They satisfy the heart and increase the wisdom of even the wise. Therefore, ask me for another blessing, except your husband's life. Sometimes my father-in-law, who is very learned and brilliant, lost his kingdom. I would like him to recover it now and never give up his duty. Granted. Now please stop following me and return home. You control all beings and carry them away, not by your fancy but by your justice. That's why you are called Yama, the Lord of Justice, or Death. Kindly listen to this. The constant responsibility of the virtuous is to never harm anyone in thought, word, or deed, but to love them and to give them what they deserve. To me, everything in this world is like my husband now, death. People are empty of both devotional and grace, but the virtuous are merciful even to enemies who ask for protection. Yama replied, as water is to a thirsty person, so are your words to me. Therefore, ask me for a third blessing, except Satyavan's life. My father, Ashvapati, has no sons, but to continue our family line, I like him to father 100 sons. Granted. Now that I have satisfied your wish, please stop following me. You have walked far enough. Walking beside my husband, I haven't noticed how far I have walking. In fact, I would like to walk further. Please hear what I say now. You are mighty son of the Son of God, of the Sun God, Vivashvata. Giving equal justice to all, you are called the Lord of Justice. One is not as confident even about oneself as he is with the virtues. Thus, everyone especially desires friendship with the virtuous. It is virtue alone that inspires confidence in all beings. That is why people depend especially on the virtuous. Savitri, I have not heard anyone but you speak such words. They greatly delight me. Therefore, ask for another blessing, except Satyavan's life. Then return to your home, hermitage. I would like to give birth to 100 sons. They will be powerful, skillful, and able to perpetuate our family line. Granted. Now, please stop following me. You already have come too far. The virtuous always practice godness, and when they associate with each other, this is always productive. Neither person jeopardizes the other. By the truth of the virtuous, the sun moves in the sky. By their authorities, the earth is maintained, and the past and future depends on them. The virtuous are always cheerful in the company of the virtuous. The virtuous help others without expecting any reward. Therefore, serving the virtuous is never a waste. It never hurts one's interest and dignity. Because of such service, the virtuous often become the protectors of everyone. Lord Yama replied, the more you speak such significant words, full of sweet phrases, invested with virtue and pleasing to the mind, the more I feel respect for you. Therefore, ask me for a great blessing. The last blessing you granted me can't be fulfilled unless I unite with my husband sexually. Therefore, please revive him. Without a husband, I am like a dead person. I don't want happiness, heaven, or prosperity, and I don't wish to live. You have blessed me to have 100 sons, yet you have taken away my husband. Please bring him back. Only then will your words prove true. Realizing he had no other choice, Yama said, so be it. Then he untied the noose around Satyavan's soul. Savitri, I have freed your husband, and he has no illness anymore. He will achieve prosperity, and along with you, live for 400 years. When he performs sacrifice, he will attain great renown. Moreover, he will have 100 sons with you, and all their sons and grandsons will become celebrated monarchs. Your father will also have 100 sons with your mother Malavi. These sons will look like gods. They will be known as Malabas, along with their sons and daughters. They will be very famous. Lord Yama then departed for his own planet. Savitri returned to Satyavan's body, sat down on the ground, and placed his head on her lap. Satyavan suddenly regained consciousness and repeatedly and lovingly gazed at Savitri. "How unfortunate," he said. "I have been asleep for a long time. Why you didn't wake me up? And where is that dark-complexioned person, the one who was pulling me away?" "That was Lord Yama. He has departed. You are now reinvigorated. If you can, stand up." Satyavan sat up, refreshed, and gazed at the darkening woods. "Savitri, I remember that while I was chopping wood, my head began to pain me. Then I could not stand up any longer, so I rested on your lap. And as you embraced me, I fell into a strange slumber. Thought all around me it was dark. I saw a highly luminous being. Was I dreaming, or was it real? I will tell you everything tomorrow. I hope you are feeling well now. If so, we can return to your parents' place." But as she gazed about, her mind began to change. "It's getting dark. Listen to the wild animals roaring and barking. They are prowling about now. It's very frightening. I think we should spend the night here rather than traipsing through the woods. We can return home tomorrow when the sun comes up. Besides, you might not be fully recovered from your illness. No, the pain in my head is gone and my legs feel all right. I prefer to return tonight." "But why?" "Well, I have stayed away from the hermitage for longer than expected. When I leave it during the day, my parents worry about me. Sometimes my father goes out with our neighbors to search for me. To be sure, I am all right. Even before twilight comes, my mother makes me stay in the ashram." "I see. Thus, I must return tonight. Otherwise, my parents will be worried and distressed. They are old. My father is blind, and I am their crutch. In fact, they once told me they'd stay alive only as long as I stay alive. Right now, my parents must be suffering because of my absence. This makes me miserable, for I live only for their pleasure. I should never have slept so long, never." As Satyavan began to weep, Savitri wiped his tears and prayed, "If I have ever practiced asceticism, distributed wealth in charity, and performed sacrifice, may this night be fortunate for my parents-in-law and husband. I have never, even in jest, told a lie. By a reason of this truth, may my parents-in-law keep their lives. We should start for the hermitage immediately." She stood up, tied her hair back, and lifted Satyavan in her arms. When he got to his feet, he rubbed his legs and glanced at his fruit sack. Savitri said, "You can pick fruits tomorrow, but now, to make things easy for you, I will carry your axe." She hung the sack of the branch of a tree, lifted the axe, and escorted him, placing his left arm over her left shoulder. Savitri held his waist with her right arm and began walking with him along the path. "I feel well now," Satyavan said, "and my strength has returned." They then proceeded toward the hermitage. Meanwhile, at the ashram, Dyumatsena miraculously recovered his eyesight and could see everything clearly, but he was extremely distressed by Satyavan's absence. He and his wife Shaivya anxiously searched all over for him, but they could not find him. After a while, the Brahmins living in that sanctuary approached and consoled them. Then they escorted them back to their own ashram and comforted them with stories about ancient kings. Nonetheless, the parents continued to sorrow over the absence of Satyavan and Savitri, but the sage reassured the couple that, based on various things, their son and daughter-in-law were definitely alive. With this news, the parents were somewhat solaced. Satyavan and Savitri soon arrived at the ashram and entered it joyfully. After the Brahmins lit a fire and everyone sat down before it, they asked Satyavan why he had arrived so late. He related how he had fallen into a deep sleep and woke up much later. Then the Brahmins asked Savitri if she knew how her father-in-law had recovered his eyesight. She explained how Satyavan had died, how Lord Yama had come to take away her husband's soul, and how she had complimented the Lord of Death for his exalted character. Next, she explained how he in turn had granted her 5 blessings and what those blessings were. The Brahmins replied, Savitri, the king was drowning in a sea of misfortune and darkness, but you have rescued him. The ascetic applauded and revered her. Then, after saying good night, they peacefully and happily depart for their ashram. The next day, after the sun had risen and the holy men had observed their morning rituals, they gathered together. Repeatedly, they spoke to Dyumatsena of Savitri's good fortune, but they were not completely satisfied, for they wondered about the blessings she had obtained from Lord Yama that were yet to be fulfilled. Soon, a large number of people from Salva arrived there and went to King Dyumatsena. They informed him that his enemy, who years ago had usurped his throne, had recently been assassinated by his own minister. They further say that the minister had also slain the usurper friends of an allies, and when his troops heard about it, they fled. After this, all the citizens unanimously exclaimed, whether our former king can see or is blind, he will again become king. The spokesman for the group then said to Dyumatsena, as a result of that decision, we have been sent here. Your chariot and your army have come to take you back. May good fortune be yours. Please come, kindly reassume the same position your father and grandfather had. When they saw that the king had regained his eyesight and was able-bodied, they opened their eyes in astonishment and bowed their heads. The king paid his respect to all the elderly ascetics living in the sanctuary, and they in turn reciprocated. Then, after mounting his chariot, the monarch proceeded to his city, his wife and daughter-in-law trailing in a palanquin. When Dyumatsena arrived at his capital, the happy-hearted priests installed him on the throne and Satyavan as prince regent. As the year passed, Savitri gave birth to 100 sons. They were all stout-hearted and fearless. Never would they flee from battle, and they enhanced the renown of Shalva's people. Also, Savitri's mother, Malavi, bore for Savitri's father, Ashvapati, 100 sons. Thus, From a pathetic tragedy, Savitri elevated herself, her father and mother, her father-in-law and mother-in-law, and her husband family line to the highest fortune. It is said that whoever listened to this account of Savitri reverently achieved happiness, success in all pursuits, and never experienced anguish. Mystical stories from Mahābhārata. Savitri saves her husband. Like, share, and subscribe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam.